this is my next thing for Brenda, next bodysuit, and from the front, to me, it's absolutely perfect. It's got the shape that I'm looking for, which I could just consider the most flattering shape. So you can see it's got a lovely shape to it. It cuts in, and it's also got, which may not show up because it's daylight and I've got a light behind it, it's got the seams coming down, which is, again, it creates a flattering look because things are being drawn in as they go down. So I am in two minds as to whether I enhance this further by simply running either some piping, you know, like piping like you'd get around the edge of a cushion, that type of piping, or some very thin ribbon along the seams to match. The breast area is elasticated, and it's actually a very good secure fit, and along here as well. This thing's absolutely bloody adorable. The only thing about it that I was like, oh, is the back. Not so much now, because now I've begun making the adjustments, but it's literally just a string. And although I'm 5'3", my body is unusually, like my torso is unusually long for my height. This thing came with a robe. This is the remainder of the belt, the lacy robe. It even has loops for the belt to go through. Now the belt is simply ribbon. It's, I'm going to say an 1.5 inches wide. Perfect. And obviously it's long enough to tie around your body. So this is a size small, the theory being the bigger the size that you are, the bigger the robe you're going to get, the longer the ribbon you're going to get. I've literally probably used half of it because the front area on Brenda's lovely white bodysuit is, the coverage of it is good. Like it is, it's perfect. I've taken off one of the belt loops. The reason for that is because of my long torso. I don't like that feeling of being cut in two. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unstitch this area here behind this bow. I'm going to double over the ribbon that I've taken off of the robe. I'm going to do a loop. So I'm going to come through the ring here, fold it back over, because that section there is going to be strong enough because there's no open edges to it. So strength wise it's fine. I simply want to give myself just an inch more so that I don't have that horrible feeling that I get when I have things go up my butt crack. To form a loop, and then I'll simply reattach. I'll attach it to the elastic of the suit that's already there, and that will be it. The reason why I've gone for the lines that I've gone for on Brenda is because it's keeping in line with my, effectively where my waist is. 110 plus 60, so it's 170 centimeters. Ample. So if you have a big bottom but you have a small frame, you're still going to be good to go with just the one ribbon. Yeah, I suppose I should turn Brenda sideways. That would probably be useful, wouldn't it? Because I didn't want to mess with the front, because I think the front's absolutely lovely. So I didn't want to be like, oh, I'll just put like a pair of pants over the top of it kind of thing, because it completely then detracts away from the shape that's created, that nice like that nice angled effect. As soon as you stick a pair of pants in it, bang, it's cut off, and it's like, that no longer looks good. It just doesn't. It's not turned her sideways. It's because I'm just too wired at the fact I'm home alone, like fucking Macaulay Culkin. Take this. You'd stitch it behind the band, obviously, but I'm just going to try and hold it, not push Brenda off the table. And you could just simply follow the line around. Follow the line around all the way down the back there. You know, and you can, by doing that, you can create a bigger area of pants coverage in effect. Once, for instance, I've secured this on and I'm like, oh, there's still too much butt showing or whatever, or it's still going up my butt, then I can simply attach this to the underside. I tell you what, I can just poke it up there, can't I? Sort of fucking around like this. Sorry about the swearing. Tucked in there. I'll follow it around as best I can. I'm going to go on the inside because Brenda's bodysuit is actually taking the weight of the ribbon, so I don't need to sew anything in place. And because the front area, the crutch area, is ample in its coverage, I can take the ribbon to the underside, knowing that I've got enough material in effect to attach securely to the undercarriage. You know, there's not going to be like a big bunch of like material like in a tiny space. We're going to imagine that we're going to follow along here. Let me move my distance out of the way. Now, to me, if I could just tip it here a second, I would say that that is just as nice as the single strand. And obviously you can take the lower half of it and draw it as far in as you want to create a different look. But I'm going to stick with just this section here to begin with, because I'm going to be feathering mine. So I'm going to have feathers protruding from you know, this ribbon area here. So I'm in effect going to have more, I'm going to have more coverage. So my coverage is going to essentially finish where the edge of this ribbon is, and I'm going to attach them to the fabric of the gown here. Here's my suggestion. The arms of the costume are quite they have a small pattern to them, so they cover up more of your flesh in a sense. So if you were to have the ribbon going from the outside here only, I would suggest you take the more densely patterned fabric and put that on. Be generous, so when you're pinning it, the fabric to the ribbon, don't do it taut, because when you come to put it on, it's not going to go over your body. It just won't, because there's no lycra in this. So attach your ribbons to wherever. You can either go wider, and to look at the front, because it's white, it doesn't stand out. If I was sticking black ribbon on there, I'd be concerned that it's looking a bit, oh no, like what's that rando coloured bit doing there, sort of thing, and it will take away from the overall appearance. So the ribbon can be attached to the elastic here. Be generous with it. I think I'm going to need this amount of ribbon in order to maintain the ability to slide it on and off easily. I'll be generous with it, and I'll add on another 2 inches, because what I want to do, is attach the material to the ribbon, knowing that I've got enough wiggle room to literally wiggle in and out of it. And here's what I would do. As everything around here is, you know, doesn't have little frills on the end like the front does, I would suggest sticking with what's already there, so to keep the lines clean. So I would take a piece of the gown. I have the tool that I can use to feather everything with, and I am going to use the tool as well, but this is purely to show you guys you don't need to buy a ton of tools, whatever, on this occasion with this outfit, because it has basically everything you need other than a needle and thread. So I will just chop off a square in effect. I'm going to be doubling over on it because I just want, this is going to be my personal preference. If I'm going to be putting the fabric over it, I mean, how is that looking? That's not looking too bad, but I do want to disguise this string area here. So I'm going to double over in the fabric. Is we're going to chop on the outer edge of that seam, because we're interested in this centre panel. The centre panel will still be nicely sealed by the stitching along there, and we are bloody good to go. I'm actually going to cheat for speed purposes. Okay, right, where's my lighter? Okay, let's start a fire. Time to burn the house down. Not really. I'm hoping the cotton thread doesn't go up in flames. So we want that on the inside, that on the inside. There. We've got one edge well, there are two end points that need sealing up. I'm going to do a 2 for 1, and I'm just going to get my lighter and give it a quick burn, essentially. You're just wafting over the ends of it. So you're going to need a lighter. That's plenty hot enough. That's sealed. So I've done it, as you can see, much bigger than the area. Well, I suppose if I was going for this one up here, the outer one, then I've done it perfectly, essentially. But I'm not overly concerned about covering over the ribbon, because I want the edge of the ribbon to essentially be exposed, because I really want to keep that line, the clean line effect coming through. There we go. Now, it hasn't got to be perfectly through. I just want it, I want it pinned there so I can, and you may be able to see this here, I've got an overlap on my centre section, and that's so I've got a little bit of wiggle room to play with. I've already tried this on, so I know what it is I need to do in effect. Okay, so let's pull this out of her breasticles, and we're going to, essentially we're going to follow this line here. So I'm just going to tuck that in there, have it next to it. I'm going to reach underneath, and I'm going to go beyond the centre point. So I should be able to then put my hand on the other side of it, on the front side, and essentially be where her vagina would be if she had a vagina. I'm happy that I've got that where I've got that. I'm going to pinch it where it was. I'm going to fold back the ribbon on itself to basically verify that I am going to have enough to place the ribbon on the other side of Brenda's back without having cocked anything up. And yes, there's, it goes, if I can turn Brenda, it goes. You can see that it comes up beyond the point where it's attached. So we're going to chop there. So let's do that now. It's just good. I'm just going to chop straight across. Don't need to worry about angling anything for now. Get the lighter. Ooh, just a little quick wafting. Sealed. When you've melted it, because you'll get like a very small ridge at the end. So that's now sealed. So that isn't going to fray, and I shall do the same with Brenda's other stuff here as well. So it's nice and sealed. Right, let's pull her pin out of her butthole. I hate pins. I've been stabbed by them so many times this morning. Very bloody annoying. Right, let's seal up Brenda's ends down here. Now I tucked it in. Or did I pin it? No, she's got another pin up there. Bloody hell, Brenda. Right. So I've to keep the triangle effect, I've overlaid the ribbon in effect, so it crosses over. In fact, use a scissors then to seal that edge. That wouldn't have worked. Again, you only want to touch it for the very split second, because you will feel the heat hit your fingers instantly. So you'll be able to like, oh yeah, I've definitely sealed that, or oh, okay, just burnt myself if you hold it too long. That end, this end, that end is pinned. Let's get one of those pins. Let's trail it down. Let's turn Brenda slightly so you can see Brenda. And by sticking with this line, should I need to adjust the angle at the top, which I already know I do, because I was like, I'm going to push Brenda off the table. So I was like, don't go mad, get the second one in. Then I can come back and I can readjust this, because as we saw, we had plenty of ribbon to allow for any adjustments. So whilst we're here, let's do that. There we go. So I just simply lifted it up and boink, it sat where it needed to sit. Okay, I'm going to take that across there. Push Brenda off the table. She appears to be a bit listy. Okay, so I can now adjust this one here, so it sits with the other one nicely. I keep wanting to put the pins in my mouth, but then I can't talk, obviously, and I'm free to talk right now as I'm home alone like a champ. So, has this end been sealed? No, that end hasn't been sealed anyway, because I was in a rush. So, wafting up and down there. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down. I want to keep the same angle as this, I'm looking to cover my butt area, aren't I? So the angle on this top, the inner one, is going to be slightly different. Also, I've got the matte side of the ribbon on that centerpiece there. I don't know if that's going to show up or not, because I'm not sure of the level of light that's on the screen, if you know what I mean. For me, it's actually nicely lit today, which is great. So this one here, I mean, angle-wise comes a bit over. So what I'm going to do, I'll just fold that back on itself. It's not going to make any difference to the result. It just saves me getting the scissors out chopping. For now, when I get to the stage of attaching this onto there, then I will chop it and then seal it again with lighter. Right, so that comes across nice. And that's going to come across there. Brenda's getting dangerously close to the edge of the table. She's getting ready to jump. I'm going to drag that all the way under to the front area. Purely because it's going to be, if I'm wearing it trying to do this, I'm not going to try and pin it to my arse. As I've come beyond the fanny area, I'm going to just harpoon the vagina. But in theory, you would take the ribbon through longer so that you don't have to do that, because there is enough ribbon that you can go beyond the vagina opening. Okay. So, other piece of ribbon, seal the ends. Well done! Now we're going to have to bear with the background noise, I'm afraid. And I'm going to have to move other things sort of out of range. That should be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing. So, I came up just underneath the breast ribbon essentially to the join there for around the side of the armpit. So I'm just going to spin her around, do the same on the other side. One. So let's point her in. There we go. There we go.
Hold that for me. Hold it and I'll give you a snap.
Take that there. Follow that down. There's just a slight overlap.
Hold this then. Thank you. You look after it for me.
Pin the two together. Before I go on to drag it through to the front, I want to verify that my angles are right, like they're the same on either side as they come through. Take the two longer pieces, bring them through to the front. Spin it around. Obviously, if it wasn't on Brenda, this is going to be easier because sometimes I'll reach between a set of plastic. So if you've got it pinned properly at the back, you're happy with your angle that you've gone for, you're then going to work on taking it through to the front, and I'm just going to secure it with a pin. Like I said, ideally Brenda wouldn't be wearing this right now, but to be able to show you properly, I guess what it will look like after it's been sewn. This is now got one pinned at the front. You can't see that, do you know what I mean? You'd have to be like this for it to be obvious. And quite frankly, even if you were like this, I'm going to suggest that's a good thing, because you're covering more of the area, or you're covering extra, because obviously the ribbon is opaque. Because before I stitch it up, I'm going to try it back on. To dowel pin, the extra ribbon provides a little extra coverage through the backside area already, so that's great. The front area is actually spot on coverage wise. It's covering everything that needs to be covered with room to manoeuvre and still be covered. Okay, I'm going to probably iron that piece of ribbon there, just because it's been sat bunched up in a box for like a month or so. But this is coming down just below that band there.
Rosie.
This is coming down, I believe, at the same angle. I'm going to check that. Yeah, that's nice that they're in the same position. I was counting the little scallop pieces there to be like, okay, so this one ends at like the third scallop, so does this one end at the third scallop? Because that's one of the ways I can tell in this area whether things are sat correctly. Okay, that's it. I'm going to have the ribbon as my edge in effect, so the lace stuff is going to sit behind this piece of ribbon, on top of this one, behind this one. I'm going to come the inside of the G string, which I've yet to lengthen on mine. So it's not so up my crack. Technical term, obviously. Okay, pop down here. Again. Because we already know that we can seal those parts with lighter. Although it's going to be. I can't pin it and turn at the same time. I've put a small slit in the fabric so that when I come around, it's going to sit flat, is how you describe it. It's not going to be bunched up. So, we've got our inner ribbon there. Oh no, I literally stuck those together. That's fine, they're still sealed, I've just stuck them together now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pin this side up out the way. So I've got just the one area to work on. So just take up the weight to save me holding it. Take my outer ribbon, find my inner ribbon, which is down there. Join them together. See how the land lies, essentially. Again, I'm not putting any tension on it. I'm drawing through there. So this lace here is going to be removed. So follow that down and round. Just going to pop a pin in there. Now the other side. So I've cut a small slit in this side to keep this thing in one piece essentially. I'm now going to take that pin out and then I'm working on the other side. And I'm going to play with how it's going to sit. So this is going quite beyond where it's going to attach to. So I have a choice. I can fold. And I'm not saying that's not the way to do it. It's just being done on the fly, if you know what I mean. So I just opted to just fold the lace over itself because it's so thin. It's not going to distort the way the back lace, which is handy because it's a very then forgiving material to work with. Okay, so that looks great. Now, got my outer ribbon, my inner ribbon is sat behind there. Come up, see where I want it to start. So at the moment we've got it there. And on this side, we are we're starting where that red pin is there. So I want this material in effect to be in the same position, so I don't want it coming beyond the waist area. Yeah, I'm going to use a red pin as well, so just to pin it in place there. So I know where I'm at. I want to verify via sight that I'm not going beyond my intended area. Those pins appear to be in the same place, and the lace, as a result, appears to end in the same position as well. Just for neatness, I'm going to chop off a lot of this excess here. I'm going to have to reseal the ends of the robe that's now becoming a pair of pants. So, make sure I don't chop through my inner ribbon though, because that's close. Okay, just going to pin the ribbon to the fabric at the end there, so I can see how much more I'm able to chop before I need to go sealing any end. When I seal the ends, I shall take the ribbon away from the area and let it heat up, so I don't accidentally burn the ribbon. Shouldn't chop through the inner ribbon as it's not on that edge, if you know what I mean, on this outside edge here, so I should be able to freely just chop away. It's not on your phone, but alright. I'll run along
Hand up for me.
here,
Hands up.
fold back that ribbon. There. So we've got inner ribbon, our lace, which I now need to seal at the ends quickly. 1, 2, 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Wait. concealed. The other side, but the other side got chopped. Ribbons. Fingers. Brilliant. So, let's join everything together. So we're going to put that pin in here. So it faces
Put it in the bin for me. In the bin for me.
Right angle.
Bin.
I'm shaking it, Bozo. Yahoo! You rascal. Okay. Just going to pin this end part. Oh yeah! Pin this end part together. I'm going to go vertically so it can go through the crotch area. As you can see, I've brought the ribbon all the way through to the front. That ribbon is the sealed edge there. So in theory, you could just stitch that to the crotch area here. It's not going to look out of place. It's the width of, you know, the part that sits against your body, like versus the creases of your groin. Pops down there to create the angle of the back there. It looks loose. That's fine. Fun to fit. You've got the elastic of the entire construction of the suit. So there's elastic in the gusset, in the thong part itself. That's all elasticated rather. So by you attaching, as long as you don't pull this super tight, you know, in theory you're going to try this on. I wouldn't stitch any of this together properly until you've tried it on. I would say running stitch along this. Running stitch is more flexible. It's going to keep with the ribbon. You're not going to have any bunching where the ribbon is meeting the lace due to the different constructions of the material. This outer ribbon is also joining the inner ribbon in a running stitch, so you've got double security in effect, or extra rigidity. This is Brenda's butt area as it currently stands. We're going to simply take the ribbons, which will be stitched together obviously. Take them through. Add some tension to it, because obviously you're imagining now that you've got everything in place, you've tried it on and you're like, yep, that's great. You can adjust the tension so you can adjust the surface area covered. That will be stitched in onto the string that still exists under there. Okay, so I've pinned it at the front. Completely inoffensive. So I will swing around to our back to the party section. And you can see now we have everything in place. That's it. That is basically it. Needle and thread. Try on later. Little running stitch. Weave in and out, weave in and out. I would also say don't tie off the ends of your thread until you've tried it on. So you don't accidentally bunch everything together and then there's no wiggle room for tying on. So leave your tails long when you first start the sewing process, and make sure your ends at the other end, make sure you have enough thread to go up once and down once. So I would suggest the tying off takes place at the crotch area, because it's more concealed. Just make sure you use enough thread. Unsure yet whether to double thread it, because you have the threads at either side of the needle. I'm going to suggest if you're doing like the actual lace back, as long as you stick close to the inner edge of the ribbon and you maintain that same distance, you don't want to start snaking. Maybe you do want to start snaking out, that's really up to you. But I would tend to, if I'm stitching, I want to try and keep the same size stitch, the same, you know, in the same position on the run of whatever it is I'm stitching. And I would go up and down, and I would go up and down and make sure you have enough tails left over that you can slip on the outfit prior to tying anything off, so that if you need to slacken your stitches in effect, you can without having to pull your thread out and start all over again. So make sure you keep your threads nice and long. Start at the crotch area. Again, I'll be stitching this whilst it's not on Brenda, because I've not got to do anything with the straps up here. They're all fine, and because of these adjusters, I might that's really quite luxurious for basically a cheapy save off of Amazon. Yeah, I would start at the crotch area. I wouldn't even, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't even care about starting on the inside of the costume. One, because it's the crotch area. Two, because you're going to have enough tail's length of your thread that after you've gone from the bottom to the top and back down again, you've got enough tails that you chop off your needle, so when you try on the outfit, you don't have a needle swinging about anywhere down there. You've tried it on, you've verified that the tension in your stitches is perfect for you, so it's not a case of like, oh, if I put this on, this is going to rip, or oh, it's too loose is always going to be much better while you're wearing it, because you would simply hold both sets of tails, keep one as like something you're just holding stationary, and the other one would be the one that you would pull to get the tension right. Don't pull them both at the same time because it will stress the fabrics too much. Once you've got the tension correct, if your tails are long enough whilst you're wearing it, I would say tie it off. Remember, when you're tying it off, you're simply tying a knot. You're not looking to increase any tension. It's not like tying a pair of laces on like running shoes. You don't need any added tension added to the process of tying off. You simply want to seal that end, and that would just mean tying it in a knot. Wonderful. That's it. Job done. Well, not job done, but you can see how easy it is. So yeah, and it can all go in the washing machine when it's not feathered. Oh, it's some black on it, and it's the ray of light was bouncing or something. That's another wacky thing. It's like there's black there, but no, there isn't black there. It just looks that way to me. Pretty much. Yeah. That is essential. Now, why do I want to feather it? Well, because I love feathers. Two, yeah, I think it's going to create a more interesting back to the costume, which is why when I come to do it, I'm going to take it out this outer part here. I don't think I want it. I may keep it and I may just draw it further in to create a triangle, because all I'm looking for is a base to attach my feathers to. I'll likely keep the lace, because the difference between the lace and the tulle, with the lace folded over, there's not really any difference, because the holes on the tools are uniformed and they're very, very tightly knit, whereas on this there are patches where it's like, it's significantly bigger than it is on the tulle. But by folding over this fabric in two, it's going to give me a similar structure to work from as tulle. So I'm not concerned that it's not going to be good enough, because the fabric area was quite densely woven to begin with like flowers or whatever is there. So I haven't caused myself a problem. However, I do need to remove a couple of these pins, chop the G-string centre, add my piece of ribbon to it so I can wear it comfortably without being cut in two, which is likely going to mean that this area here is going to be more full when it comes to the trying on process, because the tension that's cutting me in half is no longer there, which I can't wait for, because that's a horrible feeling to me. That's it. Basically, job done. $18.99, $18.95 an easy thread. Wonderful. I attached the panel onto the back of Brenda, simply using a whip stitch. So, you know, weaving in and out, keeping the stitches about 1/2 centimetre either side of the fabric, going up from the bottom, back down, because then I can tie off everywhere, like around the bum / crotch area. I aim to go like literally the crotch area, so Brenda really did look like she had a tampon string hanging out of her. Essentially, there were so many bits of thread down there. More of a whip stitch when it came to across this band here, because this band's nice and thick and strong, and obviously has some elasticity to it, whereas obviously the ribbon and the lace really don't. So that's why I didn't want to whip stitch. I thought if I start whip stitching around the area, what's going to happen is going to get lots of little tiny bunches and it's going to look ugly. So I went with running stitch because we knew there wasn't going to be any elasticity in there. So the running stitch could be, although small in it being 0.5 centimetre in width, you wouldn't need to pull. You wouldn't pull through hard on it, like like you're tying shoelaces sort of thing. It's just simply to hold things in place. So went from the bottom to the top, back down again. I'm thinking this isn't in the video because when I was doing it, the baby pressed stop on my phone when it was recording, because I was like, I shall do this. Not when I'm alone. I won't be making that mistake again. Anyway, so literally pinned it in place. The longest part was pinning it in place because thankfully the G-string acts as your frame of reference for where is the centre point. If the piece of material you're attaching is an equilateral triangle, essentially, no, let's just say no, an isosceles triangle, then you're going to have a really easy time of making sure both sides are sat in the same place across the back there. If, however, you've done it on a bit of a wonky sort of thing, it will become more of a faff. Not crazily, so it just becomes a bit more annoying when it comes to stitching, but you can chop off the excess fabric / lace, if you find it's protruding beyond the ribbons. Sorry, I'm hungry and I'm tired. However, obviously I didn't get that recorded, which, well, I was recording it and then it didn't get recorded. That probably took, say, an hour and a half, and close to at least 30 minutes of that would have been me making sure the panel that I'm attaching is aligning correctly, because the last thing I wanted to do was start sewing it and then get part way down and be like, great, that one's a little bit off to like the side and now I have to take it all apart, because that's just soul destroying. So you're much better off to spend longer assessing that what you've got is in the place where you want it, than to be, okay, great, I've got that now, I'll just quickly sew this up as quickly as I can and then live to regret it afterwards. That would just be a shame. So yeah, just a simple running stitch went between the the lace and the ribbon, because I had the first set of ribbon set up there and then the second set got added with the panel inside. And just simply running stitch to connect everything together. I had whip stitches up in the corners where the panel was, and there would have been a whip stitch basically down at the bottom half as well as the running stitches coming down from the ribbons where they're joining the lace and joining the inner ribbon. Once I got to the bottom, I would just whip stitch it over just with some security, still tie it off, but yeah, that's basically it. It was very, very simple. Because there's no elasticity in the fabric itself. We've only got the elasticity running around the bust area and across the back here. After I'd pinned on the panel and tried it on, it fit fine, and until I started to kind of twist and move and everything, and I would get quite a gap. Let's just turn us sideways because it will make more sense. I'd get quite a gap along this area here, so you could basically see through the back of the costume, and I was like, oh god. And that was because there is no stretch to the material. So to correct that, what I did was, this may be considered a bit of a cheat, because it doesn't come with the outfit itself. I had 3 pieces of elastic, and all I did was I pinned elastic into the actual elasticity on the back of the outfit, knew where I needed the ribbon to sort of stretch to in order to lose that gapiness around the side there. So pinned, so pretend this is my pin and elastic. I've pinned the elastic on one side. I've then got my other side and I've pulled it. As I've pulled it, I'm pinching the fabric because I'm doing this by myself. I've pinched the fabric and I was like, right, that's it at maximum stretch at the distance that the fabric is, that I'm joining. So the distance being, in this case, our ribbon that's joined like the under the bust area. And then pinned that side. And I've just repeated that process 2 or 3 times. I want to say I did 3. 1, 2, maybe the third one down there. There's definitely there's definitely 2 in there. And then I whip stitched where the pins were on either side. So instead of running the stitching sort of from end through to the end, I kept it at either side. And the reason for that was I didn't want to create a crinkled effect on the ribbon there. So you can see at the moment it's pinched in because Brenda's traps / back area is narrower than mine. So if I'm wearing it, it's stretching out and it's laying basically flat. My own adjustments is obviously the feathering. So what I did afterwards, in case you're interested to know this, if not, that was the end of the video. Okay. Here what I did was I cut out the lace panel. So I'd sewn on the second layer of ribbon with the lace panel, and then I was like, no, I don't want that. That's going to be too bulky for the look I'm going for. I then simply just chopped out the triangular piece of the back of the costume to expose my extension on my thong back. So that's not actually where my butt crack starts. My tailbone starts where the bow is. So I cut that out because I wanted to expose that. Then I got my ostrich feather fringe, which, as you can see, is very airy and just very floaty. The ribbon is the same colour as the banding around the outfit because it was coloured natural, I think it was, something like that. I folded it over at the band there, and as you can see, well, I hope you can see anyway, I've pinned it in place, and then I've taken it down into a centre point down to the butt crack, and I've pinned it together. And I'll explain what I'm going to do, and I will have pictures of this on Instagram in due course. That would probably be Tuesday next week when I've got 2 hours in the daylight free to myself. How weird. So where the pins are, up here is going to be whip stitched fairly securely. Well, it will need to be secure because I don't want those things moving. Then as I trail down towards the center point, I'm just going to put in some running stitches. So I'm just going to weave in and out. Again, I'm not going to be putting any tension through the thread because there is no elasticity in the feather fringe. The elasticity is purely in the thong back at the center there and here. So it's more of a case of just holding them steady as a support rather than a security type thing. Then when it joins the thong back, I am going to put individual whip stitches where each of the pin heads are. Only a few. I don't want to go mad on it. You know, it's going to be unnecessary. The elastic will stretch with the things. So the tighter and the more I whip stitch these things into place, when I put it on, the more stress in effect I'm going to be placing on the ribbon, because they're going to, you know, they're essentially going to be linked, because the final one is going to, I don't know if you can see it, you might be able to see it, let's tip forward. She's got a green pin in the centre of her butt there, and that's the final stitch there essentially. So yeah, I'm not going to go too nuts on the whip stitches outside of this area here, because I don't want to stress the ribbon that the feather fringe is sat on. It's going to be unnecessary. What I'm after is something that moves like this. So the pattern itself that's formed is lovely, but there is the only place where there's any tension being placed upon the fabric is around the shoulders and around the bust and around the sort of the chest line, bust line. I don't know what part you call that at the moment because I just want to eat dinner. Yeah, with 3 pieces of fabric. There's definitely 3 on that side. I can't tell so much on the other side, but this one I can see. No, there is 3. Oh, is there? I'm not sure, but there's at least 2. So is that one there? Yeah, that is one there. That's funny. I put that on there probably unnecessarily because it really lines up with the bust line. So that's probably a bit overkill there, but never mind. It hasn't done any harm. Hasn't disfigured the outfit or anything. Yeah, and that's it. That's it. That's a beautiful, cheaply made outfit there.